Today on Studio One, when it comes to college GPAs, find out who gets the most bang for their buck. Also, meet one man with a vision of greens, tea times, and driving ranges in the dead of winter. And one musician worked his way into mainstream music. We'll tell you his story.
From the University of North Dakota, this is Studio One, celebrating 25 years.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Studio One. I'm Monty Cashel.
And I'm Ann Hook.
We've got a lot of great topics to talk with you about today, and one of the things we're going to do is talk to a researcher about avian flu. And that has to deal with birds, of course, if you don't know. And
what type of birds are these? Are they poultry, fowl, are they ducks?
Yeah, mostly. Well, and actually geese is what he researches specifically. He deals with goose eggs, and he's trying to figure out a way to make sure that the spread of disease doesn't decimate whole populations of these birds that are really valuable to us, of course, agriculturally. So we'll talk to him in a little bit. Also, many college students work hard to achieve a high GPA, but one group might be more successful than others. We'll tell you why it matters on the grade sheet who pays for tuition.
And police officers safeguard public safety. Later we will learn how a remote-controlled aircraft is helping take law enforcement to new heights.
Before we get to all of that, here's today's news with Ali Strand.
Thanks, Monty and Ann. Nearly 150,000 people gathered in St. Peter's Square to hear Pope Benedict speak on Wednesday. The Pope bid an emotional farewell one day before his resignation. Usually a private man, Benedict stopped to bless about half a dozen babies before addressing the crowd. He acknowledged the rough seas of his nearly 8-year papacy. Benedict is the first pope in almost 6 centuries to step down. He pledged unconditional obedience to whoever is chosen as his successor in his last meeting with the College of Cardinals. Australian police have busted nearly $450 million worth of meth in Sydney. This is the largest seizure of the drug in Australian history. More than half a ton was found in a hidden shipment of cleaning products from China. Police arrested 3 men allegedly involved in the operation, and more arrests are expected. If convicted, each suspect could face a life sentence for convicted drug charges. The police were tipped off by a source nearly 5 months ago. It's a common sense decision to stop making a coin that costs more than its face value. As of February 4th, the Canadian penny has been discontinued. Due to each individual penny costing 1.6 cents to produce, Canada's federal government believes that getting rid of the penny can save $11 million a year. President Obama said he'd like to see America get rid of the penny, but doubts Congress will move anytime soon. Some experts have other suggestions on how America can be more economical.
The dollar bill, and by replacing the dollar bill with a coin, there's been estimates that have suggested that that would save the U.S. $500 million. So the penny is really a small drop in the bucket.
The Canadian government estimates that it will take 3 to 4 years until the coins are no longer in circulation. A new study conducted by the CDC says that birth rates reached a historic low in 2011. 3.9 million babies were born, which is 1% fewer than in 2010. That's almost 5% below the rate in 2009. The United States isn't the only country seeing a decline. Several countries in Europe and the Middle East are experiencing similar trends. Many analysts say that is a tough economic times. Birth rates like these are somewhat expected. As the economy is predicted to rebound within the next 5 years, they say birth rates will rise once again. College can be stressful. The biggest cause of stress among students may be their pocketbook. However, paying for their own tuition could have its own benefits.
They say money can't buy everything, but it can help pay for a college education. For Lindsay, this is evident every day. She's one of the many students paying her way through school, and she says it's anything but easy.
It's just another thing on my plate, but I know a lot of other students are in the same boat, and you gotta do what you gotta do to make it work.
However, research from the University of California says students who pay their way through school are more likely to have a higher GPA.
Well, I would hope it would put, positive pressure on them in a way, because they really need to take responsibility of their own financial wellness. But it is a lot of pressure.
According to a College Board report, the cost of tuition is steadily rising. Paying for college can prove to be difficult, but it does have some benefits.
So I'm probably doing better than I would be had I not had a job because it's taught me time management.
Lindsay says it also adds more value.
There's a lot of pressure to do well because you don't want to have to pay for another semester, you don't want to have to pay for taking summer school, and it's just another thing pushing you through.
Education may be more expensive, but for Lindsay, by paying her own way, the lessons learned are priceless. I'm Dora Brallo reporting for Studio One.
Financial services firm Sallie Mae conducted a survey last year. They found 34% of college students took out a federal loan. This was a 4% increase from the previous year. And that's the news for now. Monty and Ann?
Thanks, Sally. Well, it's always true, right? If you have to pay for something, you care for it a lot more. And obviously, a college education is the same way.
Want to make sure you get the most bang for your buck. All right, we're going to go over to the weather studio with Kellen Peters. He's going to tell us more about a snowstorm that's a brewing. Kellen?
Well, I'm going to talk about a few snowstorms that's been happening, Ann and Monty. Most specifically, over this whole winter season, the National Weather Service put out this graphic for us. Now you see all these blue and yellow areas. What exactly does that mean? Anywhere you're seeing blue at all, these are areas that are experienced higher than average snowfall heights so far this year. Anywhere you're seeing yellow and red, that's less than average snowfall that they should be expecting moving into the month of March. So some key areas, you can see the Rocky Mountains, not seeing as much average snowfall that they should be seeing right now. So you might want to be rethinking about your ski trip out there, should you be heading out there. Big area down right now is the central part of the United States. Now, over the past 2 weeks, blizzards have been pounding this area. And you can see anywhere from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri. All these areas have been getting affected. We will be talking about a specific storm that swept through the northern part of Texas just a little bit later in the show. But the North Dakota, though, most of North Dakota and northern Minnesota, these areas have had above average snowfall heights so far this year. Now, you may be asking, why is this significant right now? Well, once that snow begins to melt, it's now becoming flood season. So we have some safety tips for you. His main one is do not be driving through a flooded area and watch out for washed out roads. And you can never be too sure of how deep that water is. In fact, it only takes 6 inches to knock someone off their feet. If you're in an area that's evacuated, do not return to that area until that area is deemed safe by officials. Also, key thing to note is that if you have any property that is affected by the water, make sure you clean it and disinfect it because that flowing water has bacteria and chemicals that can be unsafe for the human body. Now, seeing the temperatures over the next few weeks, you can see that most of the United States is going to be very average, welcoming in the new month of March. However, the southwestern part of the United States could be warmer than average temperatures over the next week. Different story, however, in the southeastern part of the United States. Seeing any precipitation, it's going to be dry from the Florida all the way up to Maine, through the plains and the Midwest. Could see some precipitation in the forecast, however, still dry in the southwestern part of the United States. We just talked about flooding, which brings us to our weather question of the weekend is how many feet of running water does it take to lift an SUV? I just said earlier, it only takes 6 inches to move someone. Before an SUV, our answers range from anywhere from a foot to 2.5 feet, so you might want to stick around for our answer and a little bit later in the show.
All right, thanks, Kellen.
Thank you. Whatever the answer, that it doesn't take a lot, obviously.
No, it's like a half-ton vehicle.
Yeah, that's a lot of weight for a little bit of water to move. All right, well, let's turn to sports now, and Brian Gendro.
Thanks, Monty and Ann. The NCAA has finally jumped on the text messaging bandwagon. As of June 15th, college basketball coaches can now contact prospective players via any form of communication they see fit. And there are no longer restrictions on how many times a week a player can be contacted. It seems that those affected by the rule are in favor of the change.
Most coaches are for it because one thing that coaches have to do currently is log every phone call. And text messaging is so common these days with your friends and things like that. It's very difficult for coaches sometimes to just be in that world of very regimented, I called you already this week, I can't call you again.
The rule modification has also changed at which age the coaches can contact sought-after players. They now can be contacted at a sophomore academic standing as opposed to the old rule, which set the mark at the beginning of their junior year. Although the rule, which took effect in June, was made only to affect basketball, this change will be made in all college sports next season at the beginning of the academic year. It's now time for the Studio One Sports Trivia question. What are the dimensions of an NHL ice rink? You have 4 choices there, and the answer to that question will be coming up later in the show. That's the sports. Monty and Ann?
Thanks a lot, Brian. Jack and the Beanstalk is a classic fairy tale many of us grew up with. Now we'll follow this hero on a reinvented adventure in the movie Jack the Giant Slayer. We'll preview that film.
Also, groups collaborate to make collective decisions. Next, we will meet 2 men who work together to use remote control airplanes for police work.
Life is busy, but many professionals are finding ways to advance their career with a Master's in Business Administration at the University of North Dakota. Students attend UND online and on campus. The program is nationally recognized and emphasizes one-on-one with faculty. Find the title you deserve. Enroll today.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it, 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
From the University of North Dakota, celebrating 25 years. This is Studio One.
Law enforcement is designed to lend a helping hand to the community. It takes a collective effort to ensure public safety. Grand Forks County Sheriff Bob Ross and aviation professor Alan Frazier joined forces to use unmanned aircrafts to accomplish this goal. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, just to start it off, how did this teamwork begin?
Well, you know, it's probably 2.5 years ago. Al Frazier, who is here at the University of North Dakota, approached then Sheriff Dan Hill and talked about UAS aircraft, and he wanted to do a demonstration for us out at the Health and Wellness Center. So we came out and looked at it, and to see how an aircraft like that could help law enforcement. And it was very interesting. You know, you've got pilots that pilot the aircraft. You've got another person that runs the camera, and you know, it's very specific as to, you know, what it can do, and it would really aid law enforcement a lot, you know, being able to use it.
Mm-hmm. So Al, why this type of aircraft?
Well, we actually have a couple of aircraft. This particular one that we brought today is very maneuverable. We're able to stay in one place for quite a while. It's very affordable, and that's the thing I think that makes it very interesting to small law enforcement agencies is rather than a manned unit that's very expensive to run, it can be operated very inexpensively both by purchase costs and training costs of the personnel that are going to be operating it.
Mm-hmm. So Sheriff, why did you want to get the Grand Forks Police Department involved?
Well, the Sheriff's Department wants to be involved in it because it would be a tool for law enforcement to aid us in doing our job better. You know, when it comes to natural disasters, when it comes to looking for missing persons, when it comes to hazardous material spills, an aircraft like this would be very important because you're not jeopardizing human life by using this to go into a scene or to look for something. It's unmanned, and especially in a chemical situation, you can ascertain what the chemical is, because sometimes, you know, it is a distance away, and by sending a human in there to do it, you're jeopardizing his life, and the aircraft would be okay with this. So, and we could, you know, look off the placard or whatever and see exactly what type of chemical we're dealing with.
So just kind of a question that's a bit more technical, how does this thing work?
Well, it has 6 motors on it, and it's running 6 small rotor blades, and the pilot is actually utilizing a hand controller with a couple of small toggles, and it's as he moves those toggles, it's changing the velocity of those rotors, and each of the rotors is powered by a little small brushless electric motor. So it's really, it's very similar to a remote control aircraft that you know, young people might utilize as a hobby type of tool. Just what we've done is put a camera on it and a little more sophisticated systems, but not much. It's pretty much an RC controlled aircraft that you'd control from a hand controller.
Well, as we can see, we can show some clips from that video, but we notice it's very small. So is that the average size for an unmanned aircraft, and really does size matter?
Well, size does matter as far as the effectiveness is concerned and the type of mission. When we talk about small unmanned aircraft, what we see before us here and on the clip that your viewers are going to be looking at, that's pretty consistent for the size, about 36 inches from one rotor to the other. Of course, unmanned aircraft is such a broad term. It includes everything from large military platforms that the Department of Defense is using to these small aircraft that we would use in local law enforcement.
So what is the range of this aircraft? How far can it travel?
This one can go out to about 5 kilometers, so it's very close, and our authorization from the Federal Aviation Administration requires that we keep it within visual sight of the operator. So we found that to be about 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile. After that, because of its size, it becomes difficult for us to be able to keep visual sight on it. So I would say 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile.
All right. Well, we actually have a question from one of our viewers on Facebook, from Isabel from Maine, and she asked, does the UAS fly at an altitude that's seen to those on the ground?
Definitely these do. And again, it's not necessarily the technical capabilities of the aircraft, but the restrictions that have been placed on us by the Federal Aviation Administration. So the highest that we can fly this aircraft is 400 feet, and so that would be easily visible to someone on the ground.
So Sheriff, who decides how the aircraft is used?
Well, it would be a matter of, you know, an incident. And we have a review board right now at the University of North Dakota, research and compliance. And this board is made up of people from the university, private citizens. We have attorneys on both sides, and we look at various issues that can come up. Like, for instance, missing children. There are certain things, guidelines that are put out by this research committee. And once they approve it, then we can utilize the aircraft for that procedure. And if I'm not mistaken, we can do 4 different ones right now we're authorized to do. And hazardous materials, lost children,
crime and accident scene.
Yeah, crime and accident scene.
And searching for major crime suspects.
Okay. And one last question, really, what do you hope to accomplish through this aircraft, you know, trying to implement that with police departments? What's the goal of it?
Well, there's two components, of course. The research component of it is we're trying to develop a concept of operations that we could pass on to other public safety agencies, really telling them what we have found the aircraft could be useful for, but equally important, what it can't do very well. And then we're also developing a training program for both UAS pilots and the sensor system operators. So that would be the first part. The second part, you know, the sheriff is involved in, and that is because the research is a collaboration with the Sheriff's Department. We're able to provide the resource to not only the Sheriff's Department, but through mutual aid, any public safety agency in northeastern North Dakota. So there's actually a 16-county area that we can fly within.
All right. Well, again, thank you, gentlemen, so much for being on the show today. We greatly appreciate it. We get to see some of this nice viewers. But yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Coming up, sometimes the cold weather can bite you when you're not careful. We'll tell you what happens to frostbitten skin and how to prevent it. Also, a lot of elements go into making a hit song. We talked to a musician who has been involved in creating some of the radio's most played music.
Studio One closed captioning is underwritten in part by Options, your disability information source.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
My doctor tells me to play outside every day.
I see a physician assistant in my rural clinic. I'm glad that she's here.
But healthcare is changing.
Rural North Dakota communities face workforce shortages, particularly in primary care. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences addresses the state's healthcare needs by educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. We advocate for improved health in rural communities.
Your future depends on this moment. Take the path that leads to your future.
The University of North Dakota is a place where students thrive, where personal connections matter, where classmates become friends, where leading scholars become mentors. Experience our expertise. Creative, innovative, entrepreneurial, spirited. This is the University of North Dakota.
Many people have heard the story about Jack and his beanstalk. Hollywood has taken this classic tale and added a few new twists in Jack the Giant Slayer. The retelling starts just like the old folktale. A naive farm boy uses his overgrown beanstalk to enter a realm in the clouds. What he finds is a race of people who enjoy living large and in charge. Unfortunately, Jack's entrance rekindles an ancient grudge. The giants above decide to stake their claim on the world below. Jack must pick on someone more than 5 times his own size in order to save the kingdom, the princess, and the rest of the world.
The special effects team, which are very good, you know, there's the giants throw over burning trees and stuff like that, so, you know, all of this film is a mixture between what's really there and what will be there at the end of the day and what's in your imagination.
Special full body suits were used to capture motions for the giants. These motions were then overlaid on camera during filmmaking to help the actors. Jack the Giant Slayer opens in theaters March 1st with a PG-13 rating. Now it's time to look at the events happening in your area. band names and the lead singers are what most people think about when it comes to popular music. One man's musical gift took him to the big leagues.
Instruments on their first album.
This audience came together to hear the musical journey of someone who made it. Brent Paschke's musical goals took him from the Midwest to Hollywood.
One day I literally was a janitor just to make ends meet, and the next day I got a record deal.
That record deal led to a career working with names like Pharrell Williams, Britney Spears, and others.
Katy Perry is, when you get in a room with her, she's just like what you think she'd be like. You know, she's very fun and cracking jokes and loud, and she's very talented, and you see the hard-working aspect.
This success has not stopped Brent from keeping his hometown ties.
He called me up and said, "Hey Maddie, I'm going to be up in the area." And I said, "Come up and do a clinic."
Brent says he was excited to teach the seminar. Now as a producer, he gets the chance to help others.
Like if it's a new rock band, they've never made an album, they just got a record deal, I get to relive all that excitement through them.
Brent has had his fair share of musical adventures. Now, he says it's time for him to share his experience with others who are looking for that same type of adventure. With photographer Stephanie Shire, I'm Jamie Eckert reporting for Studio One.
Part of Brent's decision to become a producer has given him the ability to spend more time with his loved ones. Coming up, when snow covers the golf course, only dreams of birdies and pars are possible. One man has decided to awaken the sport from its wintertime slumber into a virtual paradise. That story plus news, sports, and weather in the next half hour of Studio One.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
Life is busy, but many professionals are finding ways to advance their career with a Master's in Business Administration at the University of North Dakota. Students attend UND online and on campus. The program is nationally recognized and emphasizes one-on-one with faculty. Find the title you deserve. Enroll today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
From the University of North Dakota, celebrating 25 years, this is Studio One.
Welcome back to Studio One.
Thanks for joining us today.
Well, we all want that easier way to lose some weight.
Who doesn't want an easy way to lose weight, right?
We use diet pills. A lot of the times I've heard advertised about a belt that you sleep with and it shocks you to get your dream six-pack.
All right.
But now we found it's easy as buying a pair of Wranglers and wearing them.
Well, how does that work?
It works that you just put them on and then these gel, they absorb to your fat and it helps melt away some extra cellulite.
And these are jeans.
These are jeans.
And those are women's jeans.
Women's jeans.
All right. I imagine if that works, men will be wearing women's jeans. We went out onto the street and asked people what they thought about that and whether they'd use them or not. We'll get their answers in a little bit. Also coming up in the next 30 minutes on Studio One, since the days of Atari, parents have had to limit their child's time playing video games. We'll tell you how much screen time is too much and tell you about benefits as well.
And dance can be an effective way to express oneself. It also can be a way to show others about the history of a culture. We'll take you to an event where traditional performance mixes color, acrobatics, and history.
And part of the U.S. economy relies heavily on the well-being of animals raised for food. Later, we will meet a man who researches avian flu in birds. But first, here's today's news with Ali Strand.
Thanks, Monty and Ann. Tuesday's balloon crash in Luxor, Egypt killed 19 people. This is reportedly the deadliest hot air balloon accident worldwide in the last 20 years. The aircraft was preparing to land when it exploded midair. Photographers captured the scene of smoke billowing as the balloon fell over 1,000 feet into a sugarcane field. Investigators say 4 of the 21 victims, including the captain, decided to jump. Passengers were mainly tourists from places such as Hong Kong, Japan, and Britain. Egyptian Governor Izzat Saad has put a ban on hot air balloon flights until further notice. Secretary of State John Kerry announced that the United States will be giving $60 million to the Syrian opposition. Kerry says this funding will allow the opposition to reach out and help local councils. He says people will also provide basic services to people in need of medical care, food, and sanitation. Officials say that if the Syrian opposition coalition does not help people in these basic ways, that extremists will step in and do it. They say they're hoping to keep al-Qaeda-affiliated extremists out of the picture by providing the aid. Kerry also says that the U.S. is working on future ways to provide non-lethal support to the Free Syrian Army. This $60 million is in addition to the $50 million in non-lethal support the United States has already provided to the opposition. When it comes to protecting assets, people tend to worry about money, electronics, or even their identity. But a new trend of thefts could have many shifting gears. The number of stolen tailgates has increased in the last 7 years. Over 1,300 claims have been filed in 45 states between 2006 and 2012. Although the number of tailgate thefts aren't nearly as high as that of vehicles, the National Insurance Crime Bureau, or NICB, reveals this count could continue to rise. Police say it can take less than 30 seconds for a thief to remove the tailgate from a pickup. With replacements costs averaging over $1,000, the NICB is encouraging truck owners to make sure they lock their doors. The states with the highest reported numbers are Texas, California, and Arizona. Scientists say recent melts in ice could potentially have harmful effects on polar bears in the Arctic. A study in the journal Science shows that when ice thaws, algae at the surface sinks to the bottom. In the Arctic food chain, fish eat algae, seals eat fish, and polar bear eat seals. If the trend continues, it could leave the polar bears without adequate food. As the ice continues to melt, it is predicted the nutrients in the algae will diminish as well. The words addiction, detox, and withdrawal are usually associated with drugs or alcohol. Some researchers say sitting in front of a screen is all it takes to develop compulsive habits. As technology continues to improve and entertain, so does the risk of dependency on these gadgets.
In this household, Chris and Cammie Miller are the parents.
I have 4 children, 5 in August. 4 children.
Let's say 4 with one on the way.
Let's just say 4 children.
I got past 4th. I won.
Like most kids these days, the Miller children like to play video games.
It was a kind of addicting game, and okay, really addictive game.
It's all about neurotransmitters and serotonin and a lot of other chemicals in the brain that really are associated with pleasure and enjoyment.
Studies show that 92% of children under the age of 18 play video games regularly.
If we let them, they would definitely, just go crazy with it.
Experts say too much screen time can be detrimental to the development in young children. However, there are positive aspects to playing video games as well.
Kids should play video games. They should be exposed to screens because there's a lot of cognitive and visual benefits that come from that.
As people continue to analyze the use of technology in society, the question arises whether or not the good outweighs the bad.
My head on the wall.
According to Chris and Cammie, it's everything in moderation. And for the Miller kids, it's always homework first. I'm Corey Robertson, reporting for Studio One.
A study from Iowa State University found 8.5% of American youths ages 8 to 18 who play video games show signs of addiction. And that's the news. Monty, Nan? Thanks,
Sally. Well, it's amazing. The simplest game can become so addicting.
It gets very competitive.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going to go over again to the weather studio and learn more about a snowstorm in the Lone Star State. Kellen?
That's right, Ann and Monty. The storm that you were wondering about, the big one that happened down in Texas. Now, they say everything's bigger in Texas, right? I guess that goes for snowstorms, that this broke a 120-year record. Now, the previous record for amount of snowfall by a storm in the state of Texas was 10 inches. This shattered it with over 19 inches of snowfall. You can see motorists were stranded because snowdrifts topped over 10 feet. Yes, 10 feet of snow in the area, and this blizzard caused most businesses, school districts, and government offices to shut down, including some major roadways. Now, to make matters even worse, after the storm went through, the sun came out and brought temperatures above freezing, which created even more of a mess. So we're going out to Amarillo, Texas, where you can see some of the results across the area. Now, this storm stretched all the way from New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, even up to Kansas also, and there's a wide range of numbers you could see. But this purple area right here, over 15 inches of snowfall was recorded in this area. The winner of the storm, however, was Amarillo, Texas, over 19 inches of snowfall in the city. And another interesting number, out at the airport, they're recording 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts. That's hurricane-like wind speed going on for this blizzard. So just another crazy chapter of weather that happened across the United States for this season. Now, in other areas, however, they're still experiencing some very cold winter-like conditions. It's important to bundle up before you go outside.
The winter season can bring bitter cold temperatures. Without dressing properly, your body can be exposed to the dangers of frostbite.
Your body's made of water, and so water freezes, so when you get below the freezing point, those water molecules will actually start to freeze, and which causes, the frostbite.
Frostbite is separated into 4 stages that are determined by the visual damage done to your skin. The first stage is dry red skin. The second stage, blisters. And then it gets worse.
The third stages are going to be when you're having tissue damage, and then the last stage is actually when you will probably have to have fingers or body parts removed because the exposure of the cold.
When you encounter cold temperatures, experts say it is key to wear a jacket, hat, and gloves to prevent frostbite.
Biggest thing is layers, especially in this time you want to have multiple layers. Having everything covered. If you're going to go out running or anything like that, make sure you have a face mask.
The consequences of frostbite may be severe, but it can easily be prevented. This is Riley Brustel reporting for Studio One Weather.
Now, after the winter season obviously comes spring, and with that could mean a risk of flooding, which brings us back to our weather question of the week, and is how many feet of running water does it take to lift an SUV? Our answers range from anywhere from a foot to 2.5 feet, and our answer is actually just 18 inches. It's a 1.5 feet to pick up a half-ton pickup. Ann and Monty?
Oh goodness, thank you, Kellen.
Thank you.
Yeah, not much at all. Oh. And so the rule there is stay out of the water, even if you have 4x4. All right, let's turn to sports one last time, and Brian Gendro.
Thanks, Monty and Ann. North Dakota is not the first thought that comes to mind when thinking about a destination to golf in the winter, but an avid golfer has found a way for the community to beat that scenario.
Golfing and February are 2 words not often said in the same sentence. But with innovation, restaurant owner Andrew Krausnick has made it possible.
A friend of mine and myself were just chatting about it, and the idea of golf simulators came up, and I thought it might be a neat business concept and something that would be well received in Grand Forks.
A golf simulator allows golfers to play on a graphically stimulated course or driving range. It's a way to continue the sport on the days Mother Nature acts up.
Winters are pretty brutal here. You have maybe 5 months to play, and so as an amateur here up in North Dakota, it makes it a little more frustrating.
In a season where people are used to seeing hockey equipment on the way to the car, the neighbors are looking twice to discover a different scene.
Yeah, when you walk outside the door and it's a blizzard outside and you got your golf clubs in hand, you get some pretty funny looks of people driving by and be like, what is that guy doing?
The ability to play in a controlled environment gives the amateur golfer a way to work out the kinks in their swing.
Nice! Oh, look at that! You cleared That's taking out a window.
It also gives a novice golfer a chance to play 18 holes.
So it's brought in a lot of people that really enjoy golf and want to get their fix during the winter, but it's also attracted a lot of people just from an entertainment value.
Albatross has given golfers a reason to wipe the dust off their clubs a little earlier this year. With photographer Olivia Fox, I'm Kyle Searockers reporting for Studio One.
A session of virtual golf at Albatross costs $40 an hour and can be split between players. Andrew says he is looking to start tournaments in the near future. Now the answer to this week's Studio One Sports Trivia question: what are the dimensions of an NHL ice rink? The answer is C, 200 by 85 feet. And that's the sports. Monty and Ann?
Thanks, Brian. It's hard to stay in great shape. One company has created a line of women's jeans that are supposed to help reduce cellulite. We wanted women's thoughts on whether they would consider wearing these supposed fat-fighting jeans, and their answers are still to come.
Also, many people are interested in learning something about their own heritage. Many factors contribute to that pride that people have for their own roots. One group is expressing their knowledge through dance. That's next.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it, 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
Most people don't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. My time clock is around the clock. My ideas are fresh, but they need research and development. My business plan includes marketing strategies, legal documents, and a budget. My startup became possible through mentorship, hands-on experience, and learning from experts in the field. The Center for Innovation has contributed to more than 400 University of North Dakota student startups. Come with an idea. Leave with a business.
From the University of North Dakota, this is Studio One, your source for news, weather, and entertainment.
People pass traditions from generation to generation. One dance ensemble shows us how they pass on their heritage.
Upbeat music, energy, and extravagant costumes. These are just a few things that represent an important part of the Ukrainian heritage.
It's an expression of our culture. Like, it's a huge part of, the Ukrainian idea, along with dance and music.
The Ruskala tradition started with the Ukrainian folklore in mind more than 50 years ago.
I love the energy, and I love the passion, and I love to be able to express my culture in a way that's different from some others.
Just see where everybody comes from, or what their nationality is, or what their ethnicity is, or their dances and everything like that, because you usually don't see that.
This ensemble is based in Manitoba, Canada. Ruskala has been dancing for audiences around the world. Along the way, they've created a few of their own traditions.
One of the traditions that we do, we actually go Christmas caroling, Ukrainian Christmas caroling every year, so it's really fun for us. The girls like to plan things for the boys sometimes, and the boys like to plan things for the girls, and that happens on special occasions.
Tradition is important to this group. They strive to share these traditions with each audience. With photographer Stephanie Shire, I'm Alyssa Dooley reporting for Studio One.
The Ruskala dance group has toured Asia, Europe, and North America. They will be traveling to the Ukraine this summer. Many people stay away from exercise because they are too busy or simply don't want to. A jean company says losing fat can be as simple as putting on a pair of their jeans in the morning. A new line of women's Wrangler jeans are now lined with moisturizing ingredients that they say can help reduce cellulite. We went out and asked women their thoughts on Wrangler's newest product.
I go work out every day, but I mean, if I can lose weight faster, whatever, I'd try it.
I personally wouldn't wear them, just because I don't necessarily think I need to.
I think I would probably just not do it unless it's like a reasonable cost for a college student.
I think it's a really cool idea, and I'd rather wear them than work out.
I wouldn't wear them. They sound like kind of like a sham, just another weight loss sham to me.
No, I would not wear them because the embarrassment of wearing lotion jeans, I just don't think I could handle that.
Personally, I don't really believe in it, but I think the best way to lose weight is working out and eating healthy. But if it makes someone feel better about themselves, then I think it's perfect for them.
If you don't want to moisturize your legs after you get out of the shower, you can just slip on your jeans and then you have nice, silky, smooth, and moisturized legs.
A comment from our Facebook page from Charlotte, North Carolina. Kelly says, odds of one brand of jean and one style actually fitting, comfy, and flattering are slim. Putting on cream before wearing your regular jeans would make a lot more sense. We also have one from Laura from Thief River Falls, Minnesota. Yes, if it was scientifically proven and really worked well. I doubt it though. Still to come, flu can be deadly. Next, we will meet a man who studies how avian flu can affect geese.
Studio One is a television show produced by students at the University of North Dakota.
You can be a part of the graphics team, the marketing team, news team, programming team, production team.
Training never ends.
You get to produce guests, you get to do the reporting side of it.
It's really worth the experience. You will not regret it.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it, 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
My doctor tells me to play outside every day.
I see a physician assistant in my rural clinic. I'm glad that she's here.
But healthcare is changing.
Rural North Dakota communities face workforce shortages, particularly in primary care. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences addresses the state's healthcare needs by educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. We advocate for improved health in rural communities.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
certain diseases can kill large numbers of animals. This can be devastating for the economy in regards to agriculture. Researchers work to stop this from happening. Immunologist David Bradley studies diseases in geese. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
And you study, more particularly, avian flu antibodies. Could you give us a quick explanation of exactly what that is?
Well, the project is a project that has been going on for about 8 years. We've been developing goose antibodies as a therapy and diagnostic for a variety of diseases. And in this case, we're using those antibodies hopefully to treat mostly chickens and turkeys that have been infected with avian influenza.
Okay. Can you give us a, kind of step through the process of your research, how you do that?
Well, our antibodies are generated in geese and actually in the eggs, so we give the geese a killed product, usually a killed vaccine for whatever we want to grow antibodies to. In this case, we give them killed avian influenza vaccine. Those geese then produce eggs. We take the eggs and we purify the antibodies out of the eggs. Eggs are great incubators for antibodies. You could bleed the goose just as you'd bleed a horse or some other animal, but the egg is a renewable resource. So you pick up the eggs and get large quantities of antibodies out of it.
Okay. Now, what happens to a flock of birds if they get avian flu?
Well, the current protocol, if that USDA would use is if a chicken farm came down with avian influenza, they wouldn't eradicate just that farm. They'd eradicate a circle around that farm, and usually that's about 5 miles. So you would eliminate, and oftentimes this is in areas where there are large numbers of chicken or turkey growers. So you'd eliminate literally millions of birds potentially if avian influenza broke out.
Yeah, some of those farms just alone, like turkey farms, have thousands of birds just in one farm.
The USDA estimates that they've spent millions and millions in cleaning up the last time this happened. And in addition to killing those birds, then there are the sanctions from other countries. The other countries that say, well, you've got avian influenza in your meat, in your birds, in your stock. We won't let your product in. And so not only have you killed millions of birds and lost that dollar of value, you've also lost that market.
Sure, widespread effects. Well, why geese in particular?
We started with geese, like I said, 8 years ago because there was a problem with geese and West Nile virus, and we went into geese looking for a cure for geese for West Nile virus, and we discovered that they had large antibody concentrations. We've then parlayed that into using the goose to make antibodies for a variety of human diseases, a bunch of diagnostics. In addition to all of that, the goose is, it's not just a big chicken. It produces more antibodies, and the avian antibody, bird antibodies in general, have characteristics that are really good for antiviral therapies, as with avian influenza.
What makes your research difficult?
Time and money.
Mm-hmm. Well, you recently received a fairly large grant, correct?
The grant that we received, the Senators of Excellence Award, is a matching grant. So we got money from the state that is matched 2 to 1 by a private partner, and that is certainly helpful for this enterprise.
Okay. What do you hope to find and solve? I mean, is there a cure-all that you're going to find, or is there a lot of strains to the bird flu?
There are a lot of strains to the bird flu. I think one of the things that's really cool about the goose antibody platform really is you take one strain and you put it in the goose and you get antibodies out in 12 weeks. Take another strain, put it in the goose and get antibodies out in 12 weeks. So it's really a platform to generate antibodies quickly in large quantities. And that's true for human diseases, that's true for animal health issues.
You talk about human diseases. Avian flu, can that transfer to humans? And there was the whole SARS thing a while ago. And
the avian influenza can go into humans. We've been looking at some other diseases. We've looked at rabies, and we have a really interesting project going on with dengue virus as well. So there's some human targets. We aren't really looking at avian influenza that we're doing now. We're looking more at a animal health issue. But it certainly could have human implications.
One last question for you. What gets you excited about this?
Well, I think the exciting thing is you have the opportunity. We have built a platform that we can generate therapies and diagnostics for a variety of things very, very quickly. You mentioned SARS, and when SARS comes up, and SARS is just new on the radar, nobody has a treatment for it, we can generate a therapy for that disease in about 12 weeks. And so you can really quickly address human health issues.
All right.
That's exciting.
Interesting topic. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks
we
for having
appreciate
me.
it. You're watching Studio One from the University of North Dakota. We'll be back right after this.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
The University of North Dakota is a place where students thrive, where they learn from leading experts, share in discoveries and create knowledge. Experience our expertise. Creative, innovative, entrepreneurial, spirited. This is the University of North Dakota.
Most people don't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. My time clock is around the clock. My ideas are fresh, but they need research and development. My business plan includes marketing strategies, legal documents, and a budget. My startup became possible through mentorship, hands-on experience, and learning from experts in the field. The Center for Innovation has contributed to more than 400 University of North Dakota student startups. Come with an idea. Leave with a business.
Studio One is a television show produced by students at the University of North Dakota.
You can be a part of the graphics team, the marketing team, news team, programming team, production team.
Training never ends.
You get to produce guests, you get to do the reporting side of it.
It's really worth the experience. You will not regret it.
Tune in next week on Studio One. We'll talk to a woman who is a top-ranked online business. Plus, we'll have other news and entertainment stories for you.
And we're going to leave you now with pictures of people having fun on an outside rink. It's the perfect time to do this. From all of us here at Studio One, have a great week.